Work-life balance. She called me and said, would you talk about work-life balance? And I immediately said yes. And then I immediately went to the internet and said, what the hell is work-life balance? So I'll do the best I can. I think she asked me to do this because she knows a little bit about me. We've probably, I won't say been together for 25 years, but almost. We've spent a lot of court time together dealing with crazy people, and we have some stories, many of which are not appropriate for right now, but we will be happy to buy you an adult beverage and tell you all about them outside later. Anyway, I think one of the reasons she asked me to do this is she knows that I'm a judge. I ran out of spite. I ran because the person that was running unopposed and was already a judge and came to work about 18 hours a week. So I thought, well, that can't happen. We can't have that. You shouldn't do things out of spite sometimes. I learned that along the way, but it's been a good gig. I'm hopefully starting my third term this Friday. The end of qualifying is Friday, so right now it's just me, and we'll see how that goes. But I think one of the reasons she asked me to do this is she knows I have 4 children, one of which is my little Catherine, who is 18. She has Down syndrome, and she's a junior in high school at Vieira High School, right across from the courthouse, so that makes it easy. I also coach the Eastern Florida State College men's lacrosse team and the Vieira High School boys lacrosse team. Started a 501c3 in our county in Brevard because we have quite a few athletic directors who thought that lacrosse should be canceled, so they canceled it. Even though we had 10 teams at the time, now we have 18 and a $300,000 budget that we took over that we created because the school board refused to do that. She also knows that I do justice teaching, and she also knows that on the weekends we do Special Olympics. So what she thought was work-life balance was really just my inability to say no. So I don't know much about balance. I do know a lot about front-loading, and in lacrosse we use a phrase we call dominate the moment. You may not be the star of the team, you may not be the one who has the most goals, you may not be the one that's MVP at the end of the year, or even the 3rd or 4th best player on the team, but you have to have 10 boys on a team, or 10 men, depending on what mood they're in at that point. And in order to win the game, everybody has to do something. So in order to have a work-life balance with what I do, I have learned and tried to every day dominate the moment. Try not to think too far in the head, ahead of yourself. Come on in. Too far into the future and worry about those things. How many are worried about the news? Who watched the news today? I haven't watched the news since January, and I'm telling you, it's been wonderful. Although I've listened to the news. I listen to the radio, and obviously whenever you pull up your computer, you get a news feed, so you get it that way. But the idea of sitting down in front of a television and listening to 30 minutes, or if you're on channel 13, the same 30 minutes over and over and over, I have been able to remove. So one of the things I'll tell you today is that for some of us, the news causes a lot of stress. My wife hates the news. She hates it, hates it, hates it. So I'd like to take credit for not watching the news, but it's kind of her gig, and she taught me that. So let's talk about work-life balance. Some people will tell you it doesn't exist, that there's no such thing. Can I have that stuff right there? And how many of you remember who your commencement speaker was at your graduation? Anybody? Anybody? You remember? Who was your commencement speaker?
Randy Smith, basketball player.
Yeah? Who else?
Pam Bondi, Attorney General.
Yeah? Well, that wasn't that long ago. You mean law school?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Who else? Okay, I see 2. That's 2. I don't remember. Matter of fact, are there any judges in here? The last judicial college, other than the people I already knew, I can't tell you who the last speaker was. I can tell you a little bit about what they said and the topic, obviously, but I can't tell you who they were. With that acknowledgement, when you leave here in a couple of months, you will probably not remember my name, probably remember minimal things I said, except for a couple of jokes I'm going to share about some things I know about some people in here. But with that acknowledgement, what I hope you will remember is you're going to get a free gift and some candy. So we do have that for you today. How many of you know who the Jetsons are? Some of you are old enough to know the Jetsons. Anybody not watch it during reruns? There's maybe 3 of us. Yeah, okay. Saw it when it was originally on television? Well, work-life balance. Who knows who Mr. Spacely is? Remember Mr. Spacely? You know, we could probably sing the song. His boy Elroy, Jane, his wife. We could probably sing the song. And Gilligan's Island and a few more, but we won't do that. I remember growing up, and my grandparents raised me, and I was adopted, and I remember they worked. My grandfather was the chief of police for 53 years in this little town in Mississippi, and he was gone a lot. And my grandmother ran a restaurant, a service station, and a motel all at once. So there was a lot of TV in my life growing up. And the great thing, or the bad thing, was in Rosedale, Mississippi, we had 3 channels, and that was cable. You had to have cable in order to get the 3 channels. That's how far out in the sticks we were. But the Jetsons came on, and I remember sitting there always thinking, man, how great would that be? Just like Tomorrowland. Who's been to Tomorrowland? The, what is it? The thing where you, what's it called? People Mover. The People Mover takes you through Tomorrowland, and you see a robot pushing a baby carriage. There's a hydroponic garden. Flying cars, which of course Tesla already sent one into space, so I guess we're there. Things like that. And I remember thinking, wow, that's really cool. How great would that be? And then when you look at, see if I can make this work. Then when you look at, apparently I can't. Okay, he gave me a toy. Nope. Un momento, por favor. He said he was right outside the door if we needed him. There we go. Okay. All right. So, who has a work life like this? And if your boss is in here, don't say anything. Okay? So, and you can't point fingers. So when you're growing up, those of us who grew up in the 60s, life's going to be easy. There's not going to be any work-life balance that we have to worry about. We're going to go to work. We're going to have a robot take care of our stuff. We're going to have computers teach our kids, and we won't really have to do much of anything. But in reality, what is our work life? That thing. Remember that? Is that dumbing down futuristic? Anybody, who knows what this is? Who's ever, yes? Anybody ever had one? That's the trick. Okay, there's 5 of us. This is a GPS for some of us. This is if you have ADHD real bad and you got in your car, you could tell yourself where you needed to go. You could write it down. You could, I need to go to the grocery store. It's just a notepad and it sticks to your dash. Now it's your phone. So here's a little test we're going to do right now. I want everybody to take your phone and, unlike other presentations, turn the volume up as high as you possibly can. Any notifications for email, text messages, whatever you got, turn it up as high as you can. And we're going to see just what some of you's work-life balance is all about while we sit here. Who needs you and how often? In my courtroom, I think it's funny when people's phones go off, and I tell them many times, could you at least have an interesting tune or something? That's kind of boring. Of course, the deputies don't find it humorous at all, and I never have found out why a phone going off in a courtroom is a terroristic threat to them, but man, they take it like it is. And they will come after you. The same thing if someone walks in with, you know how, I don't wear glasses, but people that wear glasses like to put them on the top of their head sometimes. That's like shooting a gun off in our courtroom, and I don't understand that. They say it causes a glare on the camera, which supposedly is recording you, and with the glasses on your head, they can't see you. And I noticed that some of you in the back who were at Point Orlando are still wearing your dark glasses. So The good news for y'all is this is being recorded because you won't remember a thing I say anyway. I saw you there. I saw you. By the way, happy hour at 8 different places over there from 4 to 7. So hopefully you can enjoy that. Okay, so what was George missing? Let's find out what George was missing. Anybody here have a robot at home? Anybody got a Roomba? You got a Roomba? Oh my gosh. Do you know the story about the Roomba? Did you see the pictures where the dog had an accident on the floor and the Roomba went around the Roomba? You sure? Who has a Roomba and a pet? That's the people I want. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I'm sure your dog's housebroken, but the lady I saw on the internet, it was bad. It was bad. And then she made the mistake. She vacuumed it up with her in-wall vacuum system. It's in it. You should read the story. It's interesting. Okay, so who has a computer? I only saw 3 people. Who has a robot? Only 3 people raise their hand. Who has a phone? You got a robot. Okay. How many of you keep notes on your phone? Okay. How many of you keep notes on your phone? Actually, look at the notes you keep on your phone. That number's dwindling. Very good. Very good. And do you have anybody have a reminder on your notes? I know we all have reminders on our calendar. Does anybody have a reminder saying, I need to do a task? You have one of those? Tell me about that. Tell me about the reminder that you have. How does that work?
You set it like an alarm.
Okay.
And it will tell you, like, pick up your child's prescriptions at CVS at 5 o'clock.
So you set it kind of like you would a calendar, and it's a to-do. Anybody else do that on a regular basis? Yes?
I have an Echo, so I say, Alexa, set a reminder. It's lazy.
Who has an Alexa or that's the Echo, right?
Yeah.
And or Google, what's a Google one called? I have one on here. What's it called? Google Home. Or who has the ungodly priced Apple Home? Anybody got one of those? It's 5 times more than the rest of them. I'm not sure how that works. Although if you saw Apple's earnings yesterday, you would understand how that's functioning. Okay, so we all have a robot now. Everybody has a phone. Everybody has a robot. Let me give you a little bit of information that you may not know. In today's age, what does anybody think the number of households that have no wireless device at all would be in the United States? Somebody give me a guess.
Less than 1%. 3%.
Keep going.
20%?
Those of you that don't know a lot of 75-year-olds, it's 18% in the United States. No wireless, no nothing. No wireless phone, no internet, nothing. And 10% of those have a landline and no cell. So basically that's 8% of people you cannot communicate with in the United States. They have nothing. No phone, no lights, no motor cars, wait, that's the wrong, that's Gilligan again. How many, what do you think the percentage of people that have a cell phone that they own, that they have in their pocket? And we're talking from age 0 to everybody, including babies who don't have one. What does anybody think that number is?
83%.
85. Yours may be more accurate.
I subtracted the 17.
But it's 85% seemingly have their own cell phone. And I'm not sure how they come up with the numbers other than the survey that started with Apple, believe it or not. And I'm assuming that they use that for their sales purposes. But one of the things that they also did in the survey, they asked what were your tasks? That's me. There's one for me. Anybody else had one yet? Who's had one since I started talking? You got to turn up loud. There's one. All right, 3. 3 of us have horrible work-life balance already. So, what's the number one task you think with a phone? 76% of the people that have a phone said this is their number one task, and there were over 50,000 people interviewed.
Facebook. Checking email.
Photo. Did you say photo? Who said photo? Taking pictures. Right, taking pictures. Somebody said number 2, and that's texting. 72%. Making a list isn't in the top 10%. So congratulations to all of y'all who have to-do lists. I think more than 80% of the room had a to-do list. Obviously, some of us have one that tells us when it's time to do something. You're way ahead of the curve on work-life balance, way ahead. Not even in the top 10. If you're 66 to 74 years of age, 68% on cell phones. Who has a mom or dad that you want to take their cell phone away from them? Miss Wilson, your mother's sitting next to you, so be careful. Who has someone who's 75 years old in your family that you would break their phone with a hammer today? Yes. Do they text in full paragraphs? Like not... Oh, how do I send this text? Did you get the text? Mine has figured out you can talk into it, and I get like 9, 10-line paragraphs. And she's from Texas, and Apple does not have a twang system, so half the words make no sense at all. She never double checks it. She talks into it, she hits send, she sets it down. So sometimes I respond, sometimes I have no idea what to say. It's just bizarre stuff. The cat got eaten by the dog and just crazy things because the TV is always running in the background. So it'll be some of what she says combined with whatever the horrible news is for the day. So, the 18-wheeler may have squashed her house, or she may just need me to get something from the grocery store. I'm not sure sometimes. All right, so we have the notepad stuck to the windshield. And that's not going to serve everybody's purpose, but it will help some of us. And they still have this at Walmart and on Amazon, by the way, if you need it. How many of you journal? Anybody journal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very nice. It's not as popular as it used to be. And I'm not talking about scrapbooking. Those of you that are scrapbooking freaks, I don't want to be anywhere around you. I had an aunt who did that. And I think she went through my uncle's entire savings account scrapbooking for maybe a dozen pictures. The thing's this big and it's got like 12 pictures in it. But it's got all the doodads attached to it. World market will never be the same. One of the ways you can reduce your stress, because that's what work-life balance is about, reducing stress. You go to an art show. You don't go to an art show because you think it stresses you out. You go because it relaxes you. Until you see that really cool painting you want that's $1,800 and now you're stressed. Like, I really wanted that, but I could probably put those 4 colors, stripes across a piece of paper for less than $1,800. So then you go home and you develop a hobby, and you try to do it yourself. But and we'll talk about hobbies in a minute, but one of the ways to have a work-life balance is to journal. And in this particular one, you can see they're somewhat creative. It's not just a to-do list. There was a study about 10 years ago where UC Berkeley, I want to say there was 4,000 or 5,000 people in the study. It was pretty expansive. If you doodle while you listen, you have better receptivity to whatever is being said, which is really bizarre if you think about it. But if you're not actually writing out something, a grocery list or whatever, but if you're just doodling, you will retain more, you will hear more, and you will be more receptive to what is coming in. So when you see a judge and he's sitting there writing, I used to think, why is that jerk filling out the order? I haven't even finished arguing yet. He's signing a judgment and I'm not even finished arguing. And the one I used to think did that all the time, he was doodling. He wasn't signing the domestic violence injunction that I was arguing for or against before I finished. He was doodling. And so I started doing it, and it really, really, really does make a difference. It's something you should try. Journaling does a couple of things. And I'll read you a quote from a fellow by the name of Greg Reed. He's in the Motivational Speakers Hall of Fame. I don't know much else about him, but he wrote a book called Footsteps of the Fearless. And in that book he says, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan broken down by actions makes your dream come true. And you've heard probably this all your life. What's a wish? If wishes were real, what is the phrase? All beggars would ride, or if wishes were horses and that kind of stuff. A wish does nothing. A plan does everything. An action plan is required for seemingly every fund that you seek money from for a business or a bank. What do they want? They want a business plan. They want an action plan. Well, if a bank's going to give you $10,000 and they want an action plan, if you're going to do something for work for the rest of your life, shouldn't you have an action plan? Shouldn't you have a plan of action for your daily self life, not just your work life? And I would suggest to you the answer is yes. This one's a little more to do, but you can see there's some doodling on the side there. And this one says, talks about Sunday brunch, butterflies in your stomach, flea markets, real photographs. I don't know what that means. What's a fake photograph? Board games, things to be happy about. One of the things you can do when you journal is to vent. And we all vent. We usually vent to our spouse. That lasts for about 15 minutes, and then they're moved on to something else. But you can vent all day long in your journal. You can vent as you go along. You can have a vent page in the back that you can add to. I would suggest don't start on the back page because you won't be able to vent as much. Start maybe a few pages in. But for every vent, for every, as we say in my business, gripe, complain, and moan, you should also have something of gratitude. If you fill your day with some gratitude, I heard another one. There's another one. You will become a more gracious person yourself. I have a sticky note on my bench. Well, I did until yesterday. And it said grace because I was told by someone that might be a good thing for me to remember from time to time in a courtroom and to have a little bit of grace. And yesterday I tore it up. But I immediately rewrote it and wrote grace with an exclamation point, and then underneath it I put, that means you, idiot. So sometimes we have to tell ourselves that we need a little bit of grace. But gratitude goes a long way, and you all know those people. You all know there's somebody in your life that all they do is bitch, gripe, and moan. That's all they do. And how much time do you want to spend with them? None. You have one in your family maybe. You have a neighbor. And everybody has a Mrs. Kravitz, and I think some of you know what I'm talking about. Those of you from the 60s. But if you will practice gratitude for work, if you will practice gratitude for your home life, or whatever you can find something to be happy about in, it will improve your life. It will improve your mood. This person was really creative. Look at that. It will improve every single thing about your day. And there is something good to find in every day. There's something good to find in every person. We have people that come into the courtroom all the time. You're like, wow, that's a miserable soul. And it may be for that moment, but there are no throwaways. And you all know, you all work with kids, and you've heard, I'm going to say those in the juvenile justice system sometimes say it more than the rest of us, but he's a throwaway. He just needs to go to prison and learn his lesson. Well, I'm convinced there are no throwaways. There's no one on this planet that you can't find something good about. Hitler's dead. That's good. There's something good that you can find in every situation. North Korea may be getting rid of nukes. That's good. That's good. So there's always something. One of the things that you can do while you're journaling is to write down things you have read, things that come from somewhere else. How many of you read regularly? You love to read. You like fiction. I'm not going to ask you what you read. You know, I don't want to get that detailed, but who likes fiction? Any real life crime buffs? Like to watch those 2020 kind of shows and read that kind of stuff? Yeah? Somebody give me another genre that you like.
Fantasy, sci-fi, fantasy.
Sci-fi, fantasy, yep. Isaac Asimov was big in my high school.
Classic.
What else?
Detective mystery type
Right,
stuff. Yeah.
right. Anybody else?
History.
50 Shades of what? Oh, okay, all right. I hear you, I hear you. It all works, it all works. If it takes you to another place, then it has boosted your good feelings. It has boosted your gratitude. And a study was done at University of London, And they did it at age 16 and age 42. And they found out no other education after high school for these folks. Apparently in England they're smarter than we are and they graduate earlier. But anyway, they 16 and 42 with no additional college or any kind of institutionalized learning situation. They were all folks who just liked to read. And their test scores on their vocabulary alone went up 35% in that range. So reading does a lot. Reading fiction improves your ability to understand the mental states of others. Researchers at the New School for Social Research in New York determined that reading literary fiction enhances theory of the mind and enables complex social relationships that characterize human societies to be understood. I read that like 6 times before I figured out what that meant. Basically, it helps you interact with others. If you sit in a room all day long and you don't interact with anybody, you could still learn to interact socially through books if you read. And we all know people like that. And one of the interesting things about the study said that for kids who are introverts, who knows a child that's an introvert or has an introvert? Or, yeah, everybody's got somebody in their family. They just like to read. They just like to, do their own thing, play their games on the computer or whatever it is. But we would describe them as introverts, at least for a period of their life. And the study proved that reading lowered their stress level, because we all know that people who are introverts are kind of stressed when they get out in society or when they even go to school and they're in a class with 30 people. So the more reading that you can help children that you interact with do, and for yourself as well, the less stress you have. And reading can lower your stress level. According to the University of Sussex in England, they had 2,000 participants. They lowered their stress levels just by reading, nothing else, by an average of 68%. And it had a much higher rating than music, drinking a cup of tea, or taking a walk. So, what did we learn from that? Get a cup of tea, take a walk, and listen to an audio book, and then your stress level will be next to nothing. So do all those things. Reading changes the circuitry of your brain. If you go to work, some of us have to read for a living. And those of us that read for a living and read stuff that some others of us might describe as bland, believe it or not, many lawyers like to read legal thrillers because they think, my God, there's got to be something more interesting than what I'm doing from a legal standpoint in terms of reading the case law. John Grisham, when I was in law school, I started the Sports and Entertainment Law Society. And the first person we brought to school was John Grisham. The strange thing is, the man's a multi-millionaire, and we brought him back the next year. He's wearing the same jacket and pair of pants, but I don't know why. But his theory on reading is you should read a book a week. I don't know anybody, honestly, that has the time to read a book a week. Maybe Reader's Digest, possibly. You read a book a week? Awesome. That's awesome. And other than sleeping and reading a book, what do you do for a living? Tell me what you do. Are you a speed reader? No?
Sort of.
What kind of, how thick is the book you read in a week?
Right now I'm reading a book called The Habit. It's about how we can reduce our habits to change and the cues, the social cues. It talked about how many marketers sell toothpaste, because back in the day,
Right.
there used to be many brands of toothpaste. But it all did the same thing, but when this marketer discovered that you could put a minty frost in, they started to sell.
Even if people's teeth were falling out, they thought they had clean teeth because they tasted the mint, right? I read that.
So
That's awesome.
It helps.
Do you remember the name of the company? They're still around today.
President,
Pepsodent? Is it
No.
not Pepsodent? What's?
it is.
I can't remember.
It's this.
You can find it in the back of Publix, way down on the bottom. It's still around.
It's not
Yeah.
sponsored, but
Yeah.
reading a book helps me deal with people I don't like.
It does. This study flat out says that. It flat out says that. I don't appreciate you staring at me when you said that, but I'm kidding. No, I'll think of it in a minute. It was the first toothpaste. It really was the first toothpaste, because people just didn't brush their teeth in the late 1800s. So anyway, you talk about it helps you deal with people you don't like. It also helps you understand people you don't understand. Because if you open yourself up to what books say in terms of characters and people who think differently than we do or act differently than we do, you be careful with your little murder mystery those. We don't want you acting like that, but have some empathy for the people that you read about. You'll have empathy.
To-do list.
Yes, you're on your to-do list. You'll have empathy for the people that you encounter each day. So one of the things I would suggest to you about work-life balance is open your mind up to the idea that you need to read, probably all of us do, way more than well, except for you, all of us way more than we're reading now. By the way, bluedolphin.com, anybody familiar with bluedolphin.com? Any magazine on the planet just about, $2 for the first year. And then after that, you don't have to sign up. It's not one of those, what's the record company that would send you, Columbia, it's not like Columbia Record Company where they send you, 8 a week. It's $2 for the first year and you don't have to renew. That's one of my hobbies, or I'd say pastimes, is reading magazines, because you can learn so much in a short period of time. Unless you're in a doctor's office, then you can learn what happened in 1997, because the magazines are always so old. We have a magazine drop at the courthouse. I go around and collect a bunch of magazines and take them to my doctor's office, because he has 2 magazines that they regularly subscribe to. One is some doctor's advertisement kind of thing where they claim to tell you about the benefits of this or that, and it's really just an advertisement for the people in his own office. If I'm already there seeing that doctor, why does he need to advertise for me? I don't understand that. But we take magazines to him so people won't go postal on him. Okay, so another way you can read or absorb different cultures and different ideas to help reduce some stress in your work-life balance is what we used to call books on tape. Does anybody remember what a cassette is? Yeah, we have some cassettes. I see a couple of 8-tracks out there. Anybody actually have a car that had an 8-track in it? Yeah? Nice. Anybody have any idea who doesn't know what an 8-track tape player is? Anybody? It had 4 tracks, so it didn't have 8. You would push a button and it would go to the next one, the next track of songs, and there were probably 3 songs on each track or something like that, and it was about yay big. It was just a little smaller than a VHS cassette. Who knows what a VHS? Never mind, I know you know. We all have that. For those of you that didn't spend much time with VHS, if you find any from Disney in the original clamshell, they're worth about $30 a piece, so don't throw them away. Now, Professor Morton Hansen wrote a book called Great at Work, and he is all about occupational wellness and finding a work-life balance, but mostly how to be happy at work. Oh, got another one. How to be happy at work. And let's see if I can get you to, I don't know if I have his wheel. Oh, this is my to-do list. You guys know this? Say it out loud. To-do, 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 to-do. And this is a to-do list of a real smart aleck. Make vanilla pudding, put it in a mail jar, and eat it in public. I know y'all seen some of these. Run in the store and ask what year it is. When someone answers, yell, "It worked, it worked." Things like that. Buy a parrot, teach it to say, "Help, I've been turned into a parrot." And follow joggers around in your car, blasting "Eye of the Tiger" for encouragement. Kind of silly. We're going to talk about hobbies in a minute, and I just want you to know that this is probably not the safest hobby you could come up with. But this fellow by the name of Morton Hansen says that we should work on our work passion. You should have a passion at work, and the passion is broken down into different areas. And his theory is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, first of all. And you always know there's somebody in your organization that is going to gripe about something that's working perfectly fine. Just the way it is. They're always going to be that way. Ignore them. Just ignore them. That's the only thing you can do. So his first theory is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you should always be looking for opportunities. We all get to a point in our working career where we feel things are a little stale. I'm not getting the opportunities I need to get. I don't have the responsibilities that I should have or that I want to have. And what do some people do? They just throw their hands up and quit. They walk out. We were talking last night about somebody who that we know that just same day said, screw it, I quit, walked out. And that's probably not the best way to handle it from a moving forward in your career, work-life balance scenario, but we all know somebody who's done it, and it happens. And one of the things that he suggests, especially in government terms, we know the phrase unfunded mandate. Hey, I want you to do this, this, and this. You're not getting any more time. You're not getting any more pay. Get it done. Figure it out. So we all know about unfunded mandates. So for us, with these unfunded mandates that we get, he says that it's really simple. Have a work ethic. Success doesn't care what situation your life is in at the time. Make the time and stay focused. And it really is that simple when you think about it. Make the time and stay focused. And that's one of the things in lacrosse where we're talking about dominate the moment. Don't worry about the score. Don't worry about that kid just hit you with a stick and you're still mad at him. Pick the ball up. If your job is to pick the ball up and you do that successfully, then you've dominated that moment. Throw it to somebody else and they score, you've assisted. You've dominated that moment. And it's the same thing at work. If you have a task and you're like, oh no, I don't want to do this again. Mark Twain had a phrase, eat the frog first. Anybody familiar with that? Anybody remember Mark Twain? Eat the frog first, because that's the worst thing you're going to do. It's the hardest thing. Do that first, get it out of the way. And that's hard for us. It's hard as humans not to have, I've got 6 tasks. The first 5 are easy. I'm going to get those done. Look, I've accomplished 5. Guess what? That's 15 minutes of your 40-hour work week, and now you're stuck with the hard task, and you really should do the hard thing first, is what Professor Hansen says. You have achievement, creating, learning, competent, and you need to do the task. Stay focused on your core task, and don't worry about the periphery. There's a program that Google Chrome, who uses Google Chrome? Anybody? There's a program for Google Chrome, actually it's 5 or 6 of them, but one of them, they call them extensions, I think is what they call them. Anyway, you click on the Google Chrome extensions and it will show you 5 or 6 different ones. One of them, you can put in an amount of time and it will shut your computer off to everything other than what task you are working on at that moment. No MSN's going to pop up and tell you Trump tweeted whatever he did, something stupid again. No scroll across the bottom telling you that they're having a shoe sale at Kohl's. None of that. I mean, there's literally nothing. Your computer is frozen. No emails, no nothing. And I'm telling you, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. If you tell yourself, I'm going to spend an hour on this task, and it doesn't involve a computer, well, obviously you shut your computer down or close the lid on the laptop. But if you have to do something on your computer, and like most of them, there's some pop-up that's going to happen somewhere, use this extension and it will help you focus. It also has a timeline. Most tasks, especially if you're doing something that is a task at work that requires more than just you, most of us have about 90 days to get these kind of things done. If there's a presentation or a program that needs to be done, or if you're putting together a seminar, or if you're planning a CLE, 90 days is about the amount of time that any of us can stay focused. It's just in our DNA. And this particular program has a counter on it, and you can put in, it's going to be 90 days, I'm starting here, and you can put in countdowns. Any day you want, however many days you want in between, to tell yourself, I need to have this task done by this date. And it's remarkable what that program will do for you. All right. So we'll get to hobbies in a second. All right. My hobbies include being difficult for no reason and ignoring text. So that's one of the things the program will help you do. Let's talk about hobbies. Beware the hobby that eats, Ben Franklin says. And there's all kind of hobbies that folks have. How many people have a hobby that you have acquiesced to because your spouse or significant other now has a hobby? You didn't choose the hobby was chosen for you. Does that apply to anybody? I see a couple. Oh, there's mine. You know what that is? That's a chicken coop. Yeah. I spent the first 18 years of my life trying to get out of Mississippi and get away from chickens. And my wife made me build a chicken coop, and I now am the co-owner of 5 chickens. Yeah. I'm kind of sorry I brought that picture now that I'm thinking about it. And this is the other co-owner apparatus I have. This is her, I think you ladies call them she sheds. Her little flower market. The good news is inside there's a gym, which I apparently don't frequent very much, but she does and she likes it. So my new hobbies are making sure the gym is clean and up to snuff and the air conditioner's on for her as I sit and eat a hamburger and drink a Coke and watch her work out.
With the chickens.
With the chickens, yes. We'll get to footsteps of the fearless in just a second. So one of the ways you can have a nice work-life balance is to have a hobby. Who has a hobby? I see hands. All right. Shout out. Somebody tell me some hobbies.
Tennis, guitar, and drums.
Guitar and drums?
Guitar, drums, and tennis.
And tennis? Nice. You have your hand up?
Me?
Yeah. No?
Knitting.
Knitting. Is that what you said? Knitting? You know, Rosie Greer. Everybody know who Rosie Greer is? Those of us old enough? Biggest, meanest football player ever? Knitted.
It's very relaxing.
Yes.
Very, very relaxing.
My grandmother was a seamstress. I'll tell you what's not relaxing. Stepping on y'all's pins that she would leave all over the floor. But she knitted too. Who else? Who's got a hobby? Say it out loud. Travel. That's a great hobby. Who travels that didn't really consider that to be a hobby? A lot of us, right? Traveling for work does not count. I heard fishing and gardening. My wife, as you may have seen, spends a lot of time Home Depoting it, is what I call it. Anyway, no, I like that. Who else? What else? Tell me something else. A choir? Very good. I sang for the Queen of England once. She didn't show up, though. My church flew all the way over there. We're all spread out. Everybody's singing. She never came. So, anyway, I almost sang for the Queen of England. Who else? Anybody else?
Reading.
Classes. Right? You know, at the University of Texas, if you are an alum, you can audit any class on campus, period, for free. If you graduated from University of Texas, you can go back and take any class you want. I think you have to be over 50 to do it, but they really want people to come back and audit and be part of their continuing education program. Who else? Anybody else?
Reading.
Reading out loud to people that don't want to be read out loud to? That's what I do with my kids. It's like, come on, I want to watch television.
Youth sports.
Youth sports. Yep. That is a hobby and sometimes a therapy session.
Cooking.
At the same time. Cooking. It's a growing hobby. Some of us cook to eat and some of us cook because we enjoy it, and some of us don't cook at all. My 3 boys don't cook at all, but man, they know how to eat for a hobby. Don't have any trouble doing that. Anybody else? All right. So let's talk about hobbies for just a second. In order to have a hobby, you have to spend some money. If you spend too much money on your hobby, it then becomes a stressor. So, I'm going to talk about that. You know, chickens eat just like kids do. Did I tell you that? Yeah, you got to go to the store. Feed the chickens. I can't get it to work now. So, you need to have a hobby that does not create stress. Some people have hobbies and they get so caught up in them I'm going to turn this hobby into a business, a small business. And it goes great. And then they go off and do that. Others take that hobby and it just turns into stress. Stress with your spouse, stress with your kids. So remember, when you take on a hobby, start slow and grow it slow. And hopefully that won't be a problem. One of the other things we're going to do, you all have a little piece of paper in front of you, a little sticky note. And what I want you to do now is on the top, when we talk about our work-life balance, the top is going to be work, and the bottom is going to be the rest of your life. So I need a goal, a work goal on the top of the sheet, and I need a life goal on the bottom of the sheet. And don't write your name on it, because we don't want to embarrass anybody, but a work goal and a life goal. And we're going to practice what we preach right now. You need more paper? And I'm going to show you how writing down your goal is going to add a little bit of meaning to it. So put that down. And would you do me a huge favor and start with this? And as I told you, I was told there were 56 people that were going to be in here, so I didn't count, but I brought 66 of those, so if you don't get one, I apologize. Actually, those of you that know me, don't take one, and I'll give you one Monday if we don't have enough when we get back to court.
Very cool.
So, what do you have? What are you getting? This is your gift. This is how you will remember me. You'll have no idea what my name is. You'll have no idea what I said, but you will remember this gift for the rest of your life, because you are going to use this. This cost a grand total of 33 cents. It's not the iPhone 10 for $999. It did only cost 33 cents. However, I promise you it's going to change your life. Now, I'm giving you one. I'm encouraging you to have two. You need one you keep on your person. I actually have 6. You need one you keep on your person. You need one for your car. I have one on my nightstand. I have one in the kitchen. I have one in the living room. I have one at the office. If it comes to you and you think it's important, write it down. If you need to do it, write it down. If it's an aspiration, write it down. If you want to do it, write it down. If you want to change something in your life and you don't write it down, it makes it twice as hard to get it done. It becomes concrete when you see it. If you write it and you see it, you are more likely to do it. There's study after study after study that says, if I write it, I'm going to take action on it. So that's what I want you to do. That's what I want for you, is this wonderful 33-cent gift to change your life. And honestly, I promise you it has changed mine. I keep mine in my back pocket during a lacrosse game because I see somebody do something really stupid and I write it down so I can remember at halftime to tell them once my anger level goes down about 10 notches and remind them in a calm way. Don't do it right that second, because there's usually some hostility associated with it if you do it right that second. But you can tell them about it later. So at halftime, I pull it out and I point out what they did. And it helps me remember, and it gives you a chance to reflect before you say something you probably shouldn't to a 15-year-old. So, now, everybody got their work goal and their life goal written down? We're going to collect those from you. If you would take everybody. We're too short? Okay. Nope. The two that are short, who's too short? Raise your hand.
There's one.
All right, I got one. All right. Guess what you get? You get the bigger version because you have a purse. Didn't I see 2 ladies raise their hand? I'm not accusing a man here of having a merce, but...
Maybe I just don't know how to count.
Or just one? Okay. So since you have a purse, I assume you have a purse. I saw you with something in your hand. You can have the bigger version. Would you share that with them? But the little version, it fits here. It fits here. Those of you that have small pocketbooks, it fits there. Whoever didn't get one, give them one of the bigger ones. All right. So we're going to take up your sheets. And when we take up your sheets, I'm going to hand out to you what is otherwise known as work-life bingo. Now, one of the things you need to think about before you do this little bingo exercise, what time is it? 3:20. And this will be quick. We'll get through it in a short period of time. And I want you to keep it with you, to look back on it. One of the things to help us with our work-life balance that is probably the most important aspect of our lives is our social life. We have people at work we just love to be around. They're engaging, they're smart, they're funny, they give us energy. We also have those brain suckers that we can't stand to be around, but you got to deal with them. At home, you have your social life. On the weekends, you have your social life. We're social beings. If you are a hermit, you're not going to have the work-life balance that you probably could if you shared yourself with others. How many of you spoke to a family member that doesn't live with you this week? Who did that? Y'all are so far ahead of the curve. The study done by the University of London suggests, and this may just be mean English people, I don't know, but it suggests that only 20% of us each month reach out to a family member or friend that we don't live with. In other words, not somebody you see every day, not a family member that you live with, but a friend, someone that you know you should contact. And you've heard all these stories about, I didn't call and grandma passed. I was going to call, I meant to call, and I didn't. And it's a regret we live with the rest of our lives. Even though our lives are busy, we need to be social animals. So I'm fixing to make you a social animal for about 5 minutes. We're going to hand out work-life bingo. Would you help me with this? Would you help me with this? And then we're going to do your mindfulness. How many of y'all went to mindfulness a minute ago? Anybody? Okay. Well, we're going to do a little short stint on that too. We know you heard some good stuff, but we got a little more we're going to share with you. Okay. So the work-life bingo, you will have exactly 4 minutes to complete this. This is going to tell me just how social you are. Now, I've given you a couple of free blocks. Obviously, you see the one in the middle with the GAL logo. That's a free X. Anybody not know how to play bingo? You just, put an X there, and if you get a line up, down, across, diagonally, if you're so unsocial you don't know what bingo is, come up here, we need to talk. So, you have to get out of your chair. We may not have enough. I know you may have to share with somebody. I thought I made enough. So you are required to be a social animal and get out of your chair. And this is work. So consider yourself at work. And this is your work-life balance. If you want to just turn around and talk to the folks closest to you, that's okay too. But you might not be able to finish. So start whenever you want. And when you get bingo, yell out bingo. I can tell you one. I'm from Texas if you want to mark that one off. Do what? Oh, hot or cold? Colder up here? All right, you're up next. As soon as we do bingo, you're up. have a seat and come on back. All right, let me get everybody to sit down. Come on back. We've got our 2 bingo winners. Come on back, everybody. Ladies. The money has been won. Bingo is over. Let me get everybody to come sit back down for just a minute. We're almost done. Y'all hang on. Okay, we have our 2 first bingo winners. I'd like to give you all something. Oh wait, I did. Candy. All you bingo winners got candy. If you haven't gotten candy yet, raise your hand. We have chocolate or Starburst. It's coming. Sherry, get your hand out of candy and hand it out. All right. Anybody find out anything you didn't know about somebody in here that you know? You know somebody in here, but you found out something about them you didn't know. No? Anybody find out something about yourself you didn't know? Lillian found out something about somebody. All right. For those of you that didn't ask me, 2 of them would have been me. I'm from Texas and I have 4 kids, so you can mark that down if you hadn't gotten bingo. All right, ladies. I have a Stanley riveted notebook for you to journal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can make this thing work. Still can't figure this out. All right, so if you look at your work-life balance bingo real quick, is there anything on there that you're not doing that you now have decided you're going to do? Is there a goal that you set so you could mark in your own X, perhaps? Did most everybody put a 40-hour work week in the blank there? No? Probably 50 would be more accurate? Yeah. Do you know back in the 60s, the average work week was, believe it or not, less than 40 hours. It has grown. So Mr. Spatesley and George Jetson were mistaken. How do we cut that back? Or should we? How many of you take your laptop home with you? A lot, right?
I work at home, wait.
Who does not own a laptop? Who has that luxury? We all have laptops we're stuck with, used to work with. Who has a desktop at work? Okay. And do you also have a laptop you take home, most of you, that have a desktop? Would you help me with this thing?
Just trying to get this presentation out.
Yeah, just trying to make it work.
We gotta close out of that one, is the problem.
It's the same one. It's this. It's this one. This is it.
That's just the previous slide.
Yeah, it's that slide right there.
All right, let's go to resume. Resume slideshow.
There we go. Nice. If you get a chance, those of you that are readers, write down this book, Future Proof Your Life, Footsteps of the Fearless, Greg Reed. It's everything you ever wanted to know about what we're talking about today. This is the work passion that we were talking about. These are the different types of work passion. There's task passion, achievement passion, creative passion, people passion, learning passion, and competence passion. People passion, enjoyment from working and interacting with the people around you. That's kind of what we just did. That's what I was trying to get you guys to do, is talk to your seatmates. And some of you, based on the volume of the room, seem to enjoy that. As I told you, I take care of an inordinate amount of what I like to describe as partially brain dead children on a regular basis. These kids are in college, and it is a biological fact that has been proven over and over again The frontal part of a man's lobe is not fully formed until they're 25. And if you don't believe me, come spend an hour with these kids. I'm telling you, they show up, they forgot their jersey for a game. We wearing white or we wearing blue? Is it a home game? Is it a away game? I've had a kid drive to Miami for a game when we were playing the University of Miami and the game was in Melbourne. So if you don't believe me about frontal lobe, spend an hour with us and I promise you I'll prove it. And this is even worse. These are high school kids. But they're all wonderful, loving, beautiful human beings. Mark Twain said, always do right. This will gratify some people and astonish the rest. And what we do every day in our profession, we try to do right. Now, what I do every day in my profession, only half the room thinks it's right. The other half will flat out tell you to your face, you screwed that up, Judgy Wudgy. You did the wrong thing. But if you try to do right and you do it with integrity and you do it to the best of your ability, nobody can fault you for it. And that's my Catherine. We had, probably 30 teams, 32 teams in our Vieira Santry Little League. And once the handicapped kids, the special needs kids, got past T-ball, they wouldn't let them play because they were afraid they'd get hurt. And if you've all seen T-ball, you couldn't get hurt in T-ball if you tried to get hurt in T-ball. Everybody hits the ball, everybody makes a home run, everybody runs all the way around the bases. Nobody catches the ball, it just rolls out in the outfield and they all look like sheep herding around it. So we started the Challenger League, and this is our 12th year. She's still doing it. She was the first one to do it. And look at that stance. Can you see that? She can jack the ball in the outfield. But we've had over 150 kids go through the program, and she's the only one that's been there 12 years, but we have some that have been there 8 and 10 years. And the reason I point this out is because somebody thinks I have a work-life balance, but it's all balanced that way towards stuff she does. She does Special Olympics, and she has a wonderful teacher. They have Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Every single week, this woman takes them to do something with Special Olympics. Every week. Keeps them busy. Keeps them busy. She did that because she saw a need, and I think there's probably 20. Yeah, that's at the Braves game. Catherine loves baseball. That's coming back from a baseball. She wanted a gun for Christmas. She got a gun for Christmas. It shoots foam, and she shot her, of all the places, she shot her brother right in the eye with it. So that story about the Red Ryder BB gun, you shoot your eye out, she did it. She did it. So this is what I was going to put up today to start, because I thought I was running late. And I have that up there because I know some of you feel that way when you go to work on Monday, right? Does this apply to anybody on most Mondays or just some? Hopefully it's just some. But we've all felt like this, and we all had this from time to time. Tisha's going to tell you a little bit about mindfulness for those of you that weren't in the mindfulness seminar. I promise it'll be different. I promise we won't bore you. But I just want to leave you with this. We're not child catchers in the court of dependency, although some people think we are. We try to do the right thing, and your work-life balance is about you doing what you have a passion for, what you want to do, what you think is important to you, and nobody can take that away from you. Anytime you feel like your life and your work are a little out of balance, just remember why you did this. You're in this profession for a reason. God chose you to be here, you chose to be here, and we're all glad you're here. There are days, as we know, that sometimes we say, what the heck was I thinking? And for some of us, that happens at least about 30 minutes a week, usually at shelter time, for those of you that know what that is. But I promise you, you have a rewarding life at home, you have a rewarding life at work. We just sometimes need to be reminded of it. And one of the ways that you can remind yourself of it is choose to be positive, have a grateful attitude. It's going to determine how you're going to live your life. It is all about you. I can't tell you about your work-life balance. Only you can do that. But I promise you, if you show gratitude and you show grace, and you only tear your little grace paper up maybe once a month, things will go well for you. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You have chosen a great profession. And if you need anybody to talk to ever, call Kelly. She'll be happy to happy to chat with you. My door's always open as well. And 321-506-4155. If you ever need to know the other side of the law that Kelly is arguing, I'll be happy to share the other side with you from time to time. And see, look at that. Right on schedule. Anybody else's go off? When y'all were doing the bingo, anybody's phone go off? I counted 17. So your work-life balance is pretty good. Only 17 times did someone want to harass you while you told them you were in class, leave me alone. So that's pretty good. Teacher, you're up.
What's the PowerPoint? Do we have the PowerPoint up?
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Okay,
You start on.
I'll start.
I'll figure it out.
So I think what Judge Crawford said was absolutely on target about what you do is very important. And you do need to have a work-life balance. The thing is, how do you take care of you to keep that work-life balance? And one of the things that you hear, and I think right now it's kind of the buzzword and you hear a lot about it, is mindfulness. Can you all hear me? Because I don't even think I'm in the mic. Okay. So does anybody know, can you tell me what mindfulness is? Go ahead.
I believe it's being present in the moment.
Right. It's being present at the moment. And I know because none of you have children, none of you have aging parents, and none of you have any technology things like an iPhone or a computer. So it should be easy to be in the present moment, shouldn't it? And I don't know, I can tell you the reason that I got involved in mindfulness was because I went through a very, for me it was a very traumatic time in my life, and very unexpected. And I went into, how do I say this? I'll tell you what my husband said to me. He said, for 3 months I did not speak. So something needed to change. And really, I was so focused on the past and what had happened that I couldn't get into the present so there could be a future. So we found this thing called mindfulness. And it's present awareness. But what I've learned through the mindfulness is not only did it help at that time when it was very difficult, but it also helped, all of a sudden there was a change. And you'll laugh. We took an 8-week class, and it was for, you talk about a commitment. It was pretty far from our house. I don't even know, it was 2 or 2.5 hours a week. And at the end of the 8 weeks, not only was I actually talking and speaking and felt normal, but people in the class said that my face had changed, that it wasn't drawn, I didn't look stressed. So there is some truth to this. So the benefits for mindfulness or present moment are that you're engaged, you're in the present moment. You can handle adverse effects if you are mindful and you practice your mindfulness. You can handle them better. You don't have those explosive episodes. You can you don't talk or you shouldn't speak when you shouldn't speak. You'll think about it first. There's less worry and regret when you're mindful. And then, of course, there's the health benefits. There's, lower blood pressure. Maybe you're not having a heart attack or stroking out in the middle of court. That's always a good thing. And depression. So here, when people think of mindfulness, they think of meditation. And I will tell you that I do try to do that regularly, and I do notice a difference when I'm doing it and not doing it. But when you think of meditation, do you think of somebody kind of sitting in a room with their eyes shut, holding their fingers out, and I think, there you go. So there is the breathing. And for those of you who feel anxiety or feel like you're starting to lose control, or you're looking at your to-do list and it's going over and over and over, if you take a moment to stop and just breathe, And I'm literally, for a 6-second cycle, you breathe in your nose, out through your mouth. I'm not going to demonstrate or make anybody do it, but it actually stops the race. If you're in a panic mode, if you actually push your stomach out, it'll stop that anxiety and panic. It physically stops your body from going into that panic mode. So if you push your stomach out, you're sitting or even standing, it'll stop that anxiety and panic, which means that you can focus and you can get back on track and do what you were going to do, but you couldn't because your mind is all over the place. But what are some other things that you can do if you're not, and those are just basic, quick, take care of it in the moment, right then and there. That's not it can be your regular practice. But what are some other things you can do to be mindful? Can you think of anything?
You want me to do this?
Oh, yeah.
You tell me whatever.
How about something as simple as, and there's a reason for all this, something as simple as when you're walking, feeling the ground beneath your feet, feeling how your foot moves. Now, I know this all sounds ridiculous, and also another one, eating. How many of you, when you go to lunch or dinner, and I am guilty of this, wolf down your meal?
Yeah, but my stomach sticks out like you told me. So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. But you wolf down your meal. Stop for a second and actually recognize what you're doing. Actually chew. Taste your food. Slow it down. Because when you're doing that, you're also going to slow down in your life, and you're eating and you're gulping and there's air and then you feel like crap after. But the point is you're stopping, you're making yourself aware. It's the same thing of feeling, if you're walking, feeling the ground under your feet. Be aware. Be aware of your toes moving. Be aware of your arch curving in your foot. Even opening a door when you're doing it. You hold the handle, you feel the handle, you stop, what are you doing? And then you're going to walk through the door. Mindful listening. When you leave from work, one of the things that I don't know about you, but you're running through your mind the day, I should have made a better decision, why did I do this, I didn't do that. In order to maintain that work-life balance, you need to stop that on your way home. And one way to do that is through mindful listening. And doing that is through, if you hear a song on the radio, actually listen to the song. Not a song that reminds you of somebody you broke up with or something like that. A neutral song, so that you can stop and listen and cut your brain off from all of that stress and craziness that went on during the day. Sing in the car, but think about what you're doing when you're singing and you're listening.
So no country music. Mama got run over by a train on the way home from prison. No more.
My girlfriend left me, I drank too much, just leave all that stuff out. But classical music or smooth jazz, those are great things to listen to. Listen to the melody, the tempo, focus on all of that. One of the things is mindful observation. And this is this year, or actually last year. The holidays were here. And I don't remember exactly what was happening, but I remember that I seemed to be going 100 miles an hour. And on December 23rd, and I happen to celebrate Christmas, December 23rd, I realized that there were actually lights on people's homes in our neighborhood. On December 23rd, stop and smell the roses. You can't be balanced if you don't stop and smell the roses. And simple things like walking through the grocery store and actually seeing your neighbor, and instead of avoiding them because you have to do this and you have to pick that up and you have to get home and you have to, it's true. Stop and say hello. How about one day you're sitting on the patio at your home, and this may sound silly, but a butterfly comes and lands on one of your plants. Focus on the butterfly. Have you ever, I only talk about this because it really does work. Have you ever sat and looked at a butterfly? Because I didn't until last summer. They would fly by and I really, whatever, it's a butterfly. And sit and look, and the color, and the pattern on its wings. And I didn't know it sat on a plant for so long, and the way it flutters. Those are things that you can appreciate and stop. And if you notice, I keep coming back to the stop. And the reason I keep coming back to the stop is because we are going all the time. We are under constant pressure all the time, constant stress all the time. And you have children, you have parents, you may be caring for a relative. If you don't stop and take those moments, you can't do your job because your head is always spinning. You can't do it to the best of your ability. You can't take care of that parent. I have dealt with parents with an illness. It is not fun. And if you don't stop, you're going to not be able to do that, be home, but most of all, you're not going to be able to take care of yourself. Another thing, and I think Judge Crawford hit on it, was the appreciation. You should take, every day, you have your little journal there, 5 things that you don't normally appreciate and write down what they are. And my first reaction to that is, what don't I appreciate? Well, how about every morning when I step out of bed and I can stand? That is something we take for granted. How about the fact that every morning I go out and swim before I go to work? Not everybody can do that because they're not physically able. How about the fact that I do have a parent that is sick but is still alive? That is something to think about every day. How about that you have a beautiful child who maybe you're so caught up in a trial or something else that's going on in your life that you don't give your full attention to. You stop and take those moments. And that's basically what mindfulness is, being in the present. I've gotten to look at Ms. Schwartz here. She has been in the present for me during the presentation. But the reason I say that is it'll make you a better employee, a better child, a better parent, a better you. It'll keep your stress level down. It'll keep you grounded. And it'll make your life, the most important thing, much easier to handle and to manage than rather feeling like you are in this constant circle. I call it the gerbil wheel, and I can feel it when it's happening because all of a sudden I can't think anymore. So that was a very brief synopsis of it, but I strongly encourage you, and I do not work for these people, and it doesn't matter how you feel about Oprah Winfrey, but Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra do free mindfulness programs on the internet. And they're 21 days. I have actually signed up for several of them, and they're excellent. And I would strongly encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to carve out that 20 minutes a day. But if I can leave you with one thing, take 10 minutes every day. Morning is usually the best, but evening too. Sit by yourself and do that. Sit and breathe. Just breathe. Listen to your breath or listen to your heartbeat. 10 minutes, that's it. Give that to yourself. It'll make such a huge difference in your day and a huge difference in your work-life balance. And don't be worried if you have thoughts. Let the thought, and this is weird, let the thought go by. Sit there, okay, I'm thinking this, okay, let it go. And then focus right back on your breath. If we've had more time, I would talk more about it. Focus back on your breath. That 10 minutes is invaluable. You end up being able to balance your life a lot easier. And thank you for all you do. You have very hard jobs. And thank you for listening. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
And for those of you that don't want to listen to anything we said, we have these lists. If you would like, the one that's on the board here, if you'd like one of these to vent, you're welcome to come up and get one and take it home. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.